Today, we're going to talk about a political pioneer who did something pretty radical. He took this simple act of being seen and turned it into a powerful strategy for change. We're talking about Harvey Milk and how for him, visibility wasn't just about pride, it was about survival. Let's just start with this quote because it really says it all. Harvey Milk didn't just make history, he changed what was possible. And that's not just some nice-sounding phrase, right? It gets to the very heart of his legacy. He fundamentally rewrote the rules of the game and expanded the idea of what was even achievable for LGBTQ+ people. So that brings us to our first big idea, a radical act of visibility. This was all about making a choice, a very deliberate and strategic choice to be seen, at a time when pretty much everyone thought the safest thing to do was hide. And to really get how radical this was, you have to understand the world he was living in. We're talking about the 1970s. Being openly gay could get you fired, it could get you kicked out of your home, it could get you killed. And yet in 1977, against all odds, he wins. It was huge. And then, just a year later, he's assassinated. The stakes here weren't just high, they were literally life and death. And this is what made him so different. Society was essentially telling LGBTQ+ people to stay in the shadows, to keep quiet, to not make a fuss. But Harvey Milk? He basically grabbed a megaphone. He made the choice to be loud, proud, and completely 100% unapologetic about who he was. Okay, so this slide gets to the absolute genius of his thinking. The myth, the common wisdom back then, was that being invisible meant you were safe. But Milk saw the huge flaw in that logic. Hiding just leads to isolation, and it lets all these awful stereotypes grow in the dark. He understood the reality that true safety and true power came from being visible. Visibility wasn't passive, it was an act of resistance. It built connection, and most importantly, it humanized an entire community. And that idea, that visibility is power, flows right into our next section, politics and pride. See, for Milk, you couldn't separate these two things. They were totally intertwined, which is exactly why hiding was just never going to be an option. You know, Milk got that politics wasn't some boring, abstract game. Nope, it was a tool that could be used to either protect people or to target them. Laws decide who gets to have a safe life. And for him, the only way to influence those laws was to be visible in the political arena, to challenge those stereotypes head on, and to build enough collective power to actually change things. So when he won, it wasn't just a symbolic victory. It was a physical one. Just picture it. His presence, actually walking through the halls of City Hall, sent this undeniable message. We belong here. We belong in every single room where decisions about our lives are being made. And this all ties into this incredible concept he championed, something he called political hope. Now, this wasn't some passive, fingers-crossed kind of optimism. For Milk, hope was an active strategy. It was a tool you could use to survive. And it was the glue you used to build a community strong enough to fight for that better future. Which leads us straight to maybe the most urgent and powerful part of his entire message, our next section. Representation saves lives. It's all about the very real, very tangible impact of just being able to see a future for yourself. And look, it's a question people still ask today, right? Sometimes it gets dismissed as just identity politics. But does representation really matter that much? For Harvey Milk, the answer was crystal clear. It wasn't just important, it saves lives, full stop. It's that simple. It's a beacon for people who feel totally lost. And here's why. Just imagine for a second you're a young queer kid in the 1970s. You're probably scared. You're probably feeling completely alone. Then you see an openly gay man, not just surviving, but in a position of real power. That's not just inspiring. That is a lifeline. It's actual, concrete proof that a future is possible for you too. And he used that power to make real change. He wasn't just there to be a symbol, no way. He had a game plan. Step 1, get a seat at the table. Step 2, use that seat to fight for actual laws against discrimination. Step 3, secure protections for housing. It was a clear, step-by-step strategy to change the system from the inside. All right, let's move into our final section, a legacy that endures. This is where we have to look at the ultimate cost of his visibility and why, because of that, his message is stronger than ever. His assassination was just a brutal, devastating reminder of the very real dangers that came with his strategy. They tried to extinguish that flame. But here's the thing. It didn't work. His death didn't silence his message. If anything, it made it louder, turning him from a groundbreaking politician into a timeless martyr for the cause. And this really sums up the lasting power of what he did. He proved that being visible isn't just symbolic. It forges real connection between people. It creates accountability for those in power, and at the end of the day, it creates change, even when that change comes at a terrible, terrible cost. And this is an ancient history. His legacy could not be more relevant. Today, LGBTQ+ rights are still being threatened all over the world. Queer and trans politicians still face an incredible amount of harassment and violence, just for daring to be in public life. The fight he helped start is nowhere near over. So, what should we take away from all of this? For me, it boils down to this. For anyone feeling isolated, visibility sends a clear message. You deserve to be here. And for the rest of the world, representation makes a powerful declaration. We are not going anywhere. And that makes it so clear that representation is not some nice-to-have extra. As Harvey Milk proved, it is and always has been a lifeline. Harvey Milk's life showed the world that being visible could spark massive, undeniable change. And so his legacy leaves all of us with a really important question to think about. Visibility created change then. What does it demand of us now?